Hey there, how y'all doing today? This is Data back out on trail. Today I'm hiking from the Apple Orchard Trail, Apple Orchard Falls Trailhead back to Jennings Creek where I got picked up yesterday. It's 12 miles. I'm going to allow myself like 8 hours to do it, so I'm not going to hike very fast today. I'm going to relax and stop at the shelters and kind of try to enjoy the decent weather. I'm definitely up at the altitude today where there's a lot of really nice color change. Fall's in her full glory here. I've got about, I want to say 1,300 or 1,500 feet of ascent and 4,000 feet of descent today. So basically I'm hiking downhill all day. Part of the benefit of slack packing these sections with the help of a local hostel is the folks at Stanimals have done a nice job of figuring out basically what's the easiest way to hike each of these sections. And you can make them longer or shorter. I don't think they don't seem to care exactly where you start, but they've sort of predefined some of them based on their experience and knowledge of the area, so that it's a pretty easy script to work with. And I'm modifying a couple of things, but for the most part I'm following their 100-mile plan that you can find on their website, and it's working out really well. Come across a very mossy part of the trail this morning. The contrast between the leaves turning colors and the moss being bright greens. I don't know if it's going to come through on the camera, but it is spectacular in person. There's my first small blowdown of the day. It's an easy to step over kind of thing. So the trail crews, thank you very much, have done a very nice job in this area. You get a lot of nice contrasting colors, like right in here. The rhododendrons on the left are obviously going to stay green, as is that pine tree. But yeah, nice day to be able to take a more leisurely hike through the Virginia mountains. So now about a mile to mile 3 in, I've come to the junction of the Appalachian Trail and the Cornelius Creek Trail. Just up ahead in the foliage is a nice big white-tailed deer. And then behind this big rock, let's see if he bolts out some way where I get to see him. Probably long gone. So this is a place called Blackrock Overlook, and it wasn't very far off trail. And I have had some other nice views today, so Thought I would come up here and see what all the fuss is about. Certainly can see the color change beginning down below. So this is the Cornelius Creek shelter. That's funny. It's kind of up on a little hill, looking due east. And I'm not waking anybody. So I'm going to take a little sitting break. I don't even think I'm going to take the pack off. But I did want to hydrate and maybe. So now I'm about 4.5 miles in at 3 hours, so I'm back on my plans for the day. Reached a spring, which is marked on far out. The trail has descended, as I think I might have showed in a previous clip, into a very well-developed hardwood forest, and it is all, mainly greens and yellows and a little bit of reds, with a fair amount of leaf litter on the ground. But until I got to the spring, it was all downhill. And really a nice kind of cruisy path downhill, as I showed in that 1 or 2 clips. So I actually jogged a couple of portions of it. Well, folks, it's lunchtime. It is 12:30, and I'm 7.5 miles into a 12-mile day. And that is the Bryant Ridge, I think it's called, shelter. Looks like it's got either sunlight or skylights or a double deck or something. And the shelter is right back in that. There's a little creek out front that has water in it. Not a lot of water, but I don't think there's anyone home. Picnic table, fire pit. Looks like this one faces to the south. This is kind of unique. It has an L-shaped porch. And an L-shaped sleeping platform. And a second floor. Wow. Very fancy. This is a huge shelter. I think I'll eat lunch up here in the shade of the shelter and enjoy this view down into the hollow. Okay, well, I'm done with my lunch break at the Bryant shelter. It's a really nice shelter, so I kind of took a longer break. I was here about half an hour. So I took the hat off, you can see. I'm gonna go with just the buff for a little while. It is getting a little bit warm, so I also dropped my long sleeve shirt, so I'm down to just my Smart Wool short sleeve shirt. But I'm pretty comfortable now that I've cooled off and hydrated and fueled up a little bit. So it's about 2:30, so I should be there on time. But I'm noticing that later in the day, the sun comes through the forest with its fall foliage in full change a little bit differently than it did earlier today. So
It's always a little hard to tell which part of the cell phone camera image is going to look as good or better later on in a video on my laptop or my phone screen as it does while I'm walking through it. Trying to vlog a hike on the Appalachian Trail with one's phone is an imperfect process, to be sure. Surely those glowing reds will come through. This last mile and a half or so downhill, southbound into the Jennings Creek Bridge has been interesting because evidently they've had a lot of, I can't tell if they're fires or storms or landslides or a little bit of all of that. Not recently, it seems like over a long time, but you might notice there's a lot of sunshine coming through. So I spent most of the beginning of the day, like usual on the Appalachian Trail, in a green tunnel to varying degrees. Sometimes a pretty dense green tunnel of rhododendrons. This afternoon, I spent a lot, well, not this afternoon, but the last 2 miles, I spent a lot of the time out in some pretty direct sunlight. You know, like this set of logs right here, not things that have come down recently. So this might be just it's a rockier part of the mountain range or something, doesn't allow trees to hold on as much. Today has also helped me, after being the third day of doing the slack packing, with being able to assess if I'm ready for the couple of days I have coming up that are between 17 and 19 miles. And that is a red tree there. Very nice. And yeah, so here's an example of a couple of big blowdowns that are, they don't look recent to me, but they were pretty good sized trees when they came down, and they've kind of opened up this whole side of the hill. So there are some smaller trees coming in, but they haven't grown in enough yet to provide the kind of cover that I normally think of when I think of the green tunnel. And all of that is to say that means it's a lot hotter in here than I was expecting it to be, and I'm in the direct sunlight a little bit more. I've came across a total of 5 hikers today. Most recently, a couple about my age, maybe a little bit younger, just about a mile back. And then a father-daughter pair that I came across just after leaving the second shelter for the day. And then one gentleman about my age that I saw just before I got to that shelter. So the one older gentleman hiking solo is also a section hiker. He's hiked everything up to this point of the trail. So I think that puts him at like 800 miles or something. Pretty impressive. And he's doing it a little bit at a time. I think he said he started several years ago before I did. But I shared my contact information, data on trail with him, and my email address, which I'll talk about a little bit more after I get done with this series of hikes. But I've created an email address that's neutral and allows me a little bit of privacy, but in case people wanted to reach out and come out on some section hikes with me or ask questions or whatever, that's a way for them to reach out to me and not have to be a public discussion on YouTube. Y'all may or may not have any questions for me. Y'all may or may not have any interest in coming out on some section hikes, but since I'm down to section hiking, as opposed to the through hiking plan I had earlier this year, and I keep running into other section hikers who express interest in having some hiking partners, I thought I would try to see if I could facilitate that, whether that's just building connections between people or folks joining me for a section at some point in the next year or so. Well, I made it. I'm back down at Jennings Creek. You can probably hear it down there behind me. I hiked down here from the Apple Orchard Falls parking lot. It's 11.4 miles. I did that, started at, I was on trail at 8, and it's now about 3:30. So it was a pretty slow day, but I kind of took my time shooting a lot of video and just farting around, hanging out at the shelters, and took it easy. Today's climbing was about 1,965 feet of ascent and about 4,000 feet of descent. So a lot of downhill, which was good. The climbing was actually a little bit rigorous toward the end. It wasn't a lot of it, but it was a little bit steep and rocky, and it was late in the day, so it's always a little bit of a challenge for me. And there are some other hikers, 3 lady hikers down at the creek, soaking their feet, and honestly, they were pretty. There's a car going on. They were a pretty friendly bunch, and I was gonna take my shoes off and soak my feet too because it looks really soothing. But I'm not sure exactly when my ride will get here, so I'd hate to be, down there with my pack and shoes off and all that when he got here. And with that, I think this is going to be Data signing off for the day. Hoping you all had a very good day, like I did, and happy trails to each of you.